As we learned, after creating a common user for the Golden Gate processes, we need to grant privileges to it using the procedure grant admin privilege in the package dbms golden auth. However, privileges granted to the user via that procedure are not enough. We need to grant to the user the privileges as shown in the slide as well. Those privileges are required for the user created for the extract and replicate processes. Although the slide is demonstrating the grant statements on all the PTPs, you can grant the privileges on only the PTPs included in the replication if you want to. For security best practices, this approach is the recommended approach. Beside the privileges listed in the previous slide, we need to grant privileges to the common users based on the Golden Gate process type. For extract users, we need to grant to them the Select Any Transaction privilege. For replicate users, we need to grant to them the Insert, Update, and Delete Any Table privilege, in addition to the Create Table privilege. After creating a common user for the replicate process, we need to configure it in the replicate parameter file so that it is used for connecting to the required PTP. The slide is demonstrating the code to achieve this task. The slide code example creates two aliases for the same user. The first one adds an alias for the user to connect to the CDB root container. This user alias is used to start the replicate, but it cannot be used inside the replicate parameter file because the replicate wants to connect to the PDP, not the CDB. The second alias is for the same common user, but it is connected to the PTP defined in the connection name PTP1OGG2. From the connection name, we can guess that this connection connects to a PTP called PDB1. Of course, if we want to make sure that this connection descriptor connects to the required PTP, we need to refer to the tnsnames.ora file in the database server. This alias is the one that we should use in the replicate parameter because it connects to the required PTP. So, as we can see, this way, we can use the same user for more replicates that might connect to other PDPs inside the database. At the destination slide, the replicate is connected to a single PDP, so it knows to which PDP the transactions should be applied. For this reason, in the replicate parameter file, we only need to specify the schema.object name in the target portion of the map statements. However, the replicate needs to know the source PDP because the trail file could have entries from multiple PDPs. In the map portion, identify source objects captured from more than one pluggable database with their 3 part names, or use the source catalog parameter with 2 part names. The slide is demonstrating 2 code block examples for each method. So far, we learned about replicating the tables between 2 PTPs. We create a C## user and use it to make the extract and replicate process groups to connect to their databases. The procedure that we learned so far in this lecture is fair enough for replicating the data changes on the tables, but it is not enough for replicating sequences. Replicating sequences requires further actions to be taken, and unluckily, there is a long list of actions to be performed. Over here and in the incoming slides, I will list the steps that you should take to configure sequence replications between 2 Oracle PDPs. For each step, I will denote where the step should be implemented. S and D steps are to be implemented on both the source and destination databases. For S-only steps, they are to be implemented on the source database. For D-only steps, they are to be implemented on the destination database. Let's discuss the steps in details. First, we need to create a user at the PDB level. This user will be granted privileges on executing procedures to query and update the sequences. Frankly, I don't know why Oracle Golden Gate needs a user separate from the C## user for replicating the sequences, but this is how the standard procedure goes. The user is to be created in each database, the source and the destination. Second, we need to grant the roles Connect, Resource, and DBA to the user. To me, those privileges look very strong for just replicating sequences, but again, this is what Oracle documentation instructs us to perform. Third, run the script sequence from the Golden Gate home. This script creates procedures that will be used by Golden Gate processes to read the current sequence values from the source database and change their values on the destination database. This script should be run by a sysdba user, but it will ask you about the username to which the procedures will be granted. You should enter the username of the user that you created earlier. Fourth, on the source database, grant execute on the update sequence procedure to the C## user. This procedure was granted to gget user by the sequence script. Fifth, on the destination database, grant execute on the replicate sequence procedure to the C## user. Sixth, you need to run the statement as demonstrated in step number 6 in the slide at the source root CDB. Seventh, grant the privilege select any sequence and alter any sequence to the common user on the destination database. This step is not mentioned in the documentation as part of the standard procedure for replicating sequences. But from my experience, if you don't grant those privileges to the C## user, the replicate hangs or throws an error that complains that the user doesn't have sufficient privileges. Eighth, set the GG schema in the globals parameter file. This parameter should be assigned the username that was created in the PDB. If you are applying changes on multiple PDBs, it is recommended to create the same user in all the PDBs. This way, you don't have to change the value of this parameter every time you need to start a specific replicate. Finally, we need to flush the sequences. Flushing sequences must be performed straight away after starting the extract process. Once all those steps are implemented, you should be fine to have the sequences included in the replication. You will implement those steps in the practice lecture. And that's it for this lecture. In this lecture, we discussed how to configure an Oracle Golden Gate replication in a multi-tenant database. The next lecture is a practice lecture. You will practically configure a replication between an Oracle 12c CDB database and an Oracle 19c CDB database. It will be also a chance to demonstrate using Golden Gate for upgrading a database with nearly zero time downtime. See you guys over there. Thank you very much.